Hello, everybody. Heidi's off tonight because she had an important commitment somewhere else. So it's me and Chuck, and we're gonna do question and answers, and then we're also gonna do. Chuck's gonna talk about the newer, the deeper sexual violations. He's gonna speak into that, and we'll see where the Lord takes it. So welcome. Introducing Pastor Chuck. You're on.
Yeah. Hello. So, hello everyone, and we're just going to have some fun today.
Yay.
Amen. What were the first questions that we were going to? Does anybody have the questions?
Soul ties.
Okay.
All right. So the first question is on soul ties. All right. So who asked the question?
I do. I just want to know.
So speak up really loud, or stand up.
We can repeat it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, repeat it.
I just wanted to know how frequent that should be asked. Like it came up today in a session where somebody was teased by a couple guys, and so then when she did forgiveness, then she broke soul ties, and so that just seems. Like how frequent does that come up?
So how often should you go through soul ties when you're doing a session with someone?
Yeah, I guess I don't know if there's a way to recognize if a soul tie's attached or.
Okay. Why don't you answer first and just tell what you do, and then I'll tell what I do.
I also have a thing I pulled up on my phone. It's a great explanation of soul ties.
Do you want to read it?
Yeah, I'll read it. It's really good. And then my answer to that would be that I do that when I feel the Lord saying this could cause a connection in the spiritual realm, and it was pertaining to image. It was pertaining to the girl's identity and how she would view herself. There was shame put on her and things spoken over her that made her view herself in an area of low self-esteem. So in my opinion, that was worthy of breaking soul ties, and I feel like if there's not an unholy soul tie there, it's okay to go ahead and cover it anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it. And then do you want to go ahead and say what you...
Did you want to read that?
Okay, here's what it says. The Bible speaks of what is known as soul ties in the Bible. It doesn't use that word, but it speaks of them, and when it talks about souls being knit together, becoming one flesh, etc., a soul tie can serve many functions, but in its simplest form, it ties two souls together in the spiritual realm. Soul ties between married couples draw them together like magnets, while soul ties between fornicators can draw a beaten and abused woman to the man, which in the natural realm she would hate and run from, but instead she runs to him even though he doesn't love her and treats her like dirt. In the demonic world, unholy soul ties can serve as bridges between two people to pass demonic garbage through. He talked about a woman that had soul ties with someone, and she was just tormented. He broke the soul ties, and in the heavenly realm that thing was canceled. How are they formed? Sexual relations, which we knew that. That's one way. Close relationships. It says King David and Jonathan had a good soul tie. So we talk about that. Especially like to me and husband and wife, I make sure I say unholy soul ties. Like if they had an issue before they were married, or like if they're doing a sexual basket, and I don't want to know their sins, and maybe they had sexual sins, or, I don't know. But I just break unholy soul ties, not, you want to make sure not to break the soul ties. I don't know. What do you think about that? Between a husband and wife, you just got to be careful. I don't know.
Well, here's kind of the way I approach soul ties. I break them constantly.
I do too.
Mm-hmm. All right. And here's my feeling and understanding on them, is that a soul tie can come about through sexual relationship. It can come about through emotional bonding. And it also can come about through anger relationships, all right? And I even think that it can come about through visual connection, all right? Like maybe pornography or something like that. And so ultimately what happens is that in almost every forgiveness that I do, I break the soul ties, okay? I've never seen that before, but I just feel that that's right. I don't necessarily need to break them twice for someone,
Right,
okay?
right.
Even though sometimes I forget I did it the first time and
That's
I do it the
I do
second
that
time.
too. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I think I already did that, but what the heck? I mean, it's not going to hurt. So,
Yeah, and so that's how I handle soul ties.
right. They also talk about in here, bad soul ties can come from a bad relationship as well as idolizing somebody can cause a bad soul tie. Obsessing, like rock groups, they talk about,
Absolutely.
like that type of thing. The other thing they said is vows, and we break vows all the time. Vows, commitments, and agreements are known to bind the soul. And he gives the Numbers 30, verse 2, as an example. Then he goes on to talk about how to break them, which we do that.
What
Yeah,
is
so-
your website?
Okay, it is.
So while you're doing that, I want to talk into husband and wife then.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's husband and wife, husband and mother. I just break them. Now, if it's a relationship that's an ongoing relationship, I do unhealthy soul ties.
Yes.
I just say any ungodly soul ties or unhealthy soul ties, and that clarifies it and it's comfortable. Or if it's with children or something like that, or some connection that I just say ungodly soul ties, and that
Yeah.
covers it.
The website is greatbiblestudy.com.
Thank you.
All right. So what's the next question?
About being stuck.
About getting stuck. Okay, so how does that question phrase out?
Well, like if you're in a session and
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. So the question really is, if you're in a session and you're wholehearting someone, and in the midst of wholehearting someone, they aren't receiving anything. They aren't. You'd ask, okay, Abba Father, what's the active root to anger? All right. When did it first show up and what first happened? And they said, well, I'm not getting anything. What do I do? Okay. Do you want to do that, or do you want me to do that?
go ahead.
All right, so I guess there's a lot of things. Number one is, I know that if I ask that once and they aren't getting anything, okay, that doesn't mean that God isn't speaking. All right. And so what happens a lot of times is there's several things to consider, but first I'll go through 2 or 3 or 4 different times trying to rephrase the question, and trying to get a response or something where the Lord would talk to them and they'd hear it and they'd be able to convey it to me. But what happens is the first question might be what I just stated, okay? Second question, I might say the same question over again, all right? And then maybe the third time I might change it and I might say, okay, in regards to anger, in regards to anger and when it first showed up, Father God, who would you have me forgive?
That
All right.
really cracks it open. It just does.
All right, so that's a good one, okay? And if all of a sudden it's mom or whatever, then you can circle around and you can come back to the fact that, okay, what do I forgive mom for? And pretty soon, and if it's just real general stuff, then say, what was the first, let's say they're going to forgive mom because of the fact that she was gone all the time, you know? Say, okay, when did I first realize that mom had abandoned me? What happened? How old was I? All right, so that's one angle that you can go at it. Another angle is through vows, okay? All right, and so what I would do is I'd go in and I'd say, in regards to anger, Father God, in regards to anger, what vow do I have in my heart to protect myself rather than feel pain in regards to anger. And all of a sudden they say, well, the vow is that I'm just not going to feel, all right? Or I'm just not going to, I'm not going to talk, or something like that, okay? And so, go
Just
ahead.
say it again.
And I'm not gonna feel.
What vows do I have in my heart?
Yeah, what vows do I have in my heart? What vow do I have in my heart,
to pertain?
rather than where I lock my heart, rather than feel pain, or I shut down my heart rather than feel pain.
Thank you.
And then I wait for a response on that, and in the midst of that vow, then I say, well, when did it first show up? How old was I, and what happened? Okay. Another possibility, if nothing comes out of that, is to say, Father God, what lie am I believing about in regards to anger? What lie am I believing about all this? And then when the lie comes, say, well, when did I first believe this? What happened? How old was I? When did it first show up? Amen. So, do you have anything that you want to share with that?
No, just don't be rattled. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
just take your time, and God will just give you those different things. You just keep asking it different ways, and don't worry about it. There's just different ways to crack it open. Most times, this forgiveness thing is what, like, I'm not seeing anything, and then you say, well, regarding anger, who do I need to forgive? Oh, well, my dad. Okay, well, what do I need to forgive him for? Well, and then there's a string of things or whatever, but that was, the lies and vows, they always seem to play in there somehow. So.
Yeah, and if you're still stuck, okay, if you're still stuck at that time, you may just move on to something else.
Yeah.
Come back to it. You know?
So that's it, you can come
It's-
back.
It's okay,
Yeah.
like I've had a number of times where people have, when I went to the womb and did the womb, they had nothing.
Yeah,
And then later I came back to the womb after things are moving better,
yes.
and they had stuff.
Right.
You know?
That's another thing I want to mention too, is like the locked heart thing. And I've had a couple recently where first session I'm like, oh, I can't. Their heart is locked, and they have horrendous stories, and there's no tears, and there's just like it's just like they're just telling their story, and it's terrible abuse. And I'm like, okay, locked heart. Well, you can just run through that locked heart prayer, but they're not ready. They're not ready to unfold. I don't know. And recently, one of the women that I had, with each succeeding, we did the locked heart, but it was just emotionless. And with each succeeding session, she became more and more tender and peeling back the layers. And she, her heart is so sweet and tender, and there's tears, and she feels things now. And it was just, you just have to allow them to let it unfold. And so, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but.
Okay, and then I've got one more comment. There's another thing that comes up where they get stuck, okay? And what that amounts to is that we have to have a basic understanding that you have a 2-year-old child or a 3-year-old child, and what happens is that all of a sudden there's abuse that takes place, or there's some type of trauma that takes place, and that child consciously makes a decision not to feel. And they shut down their heart and they lock their heart. And when they do that, what happens is that then there's a compensation, and they shift to the left side of their brain, and they operate out of the intellect and the knowledge side of it, or the intellect, or the functionality side of it,